All right, everyone. Welcome to the Saturday night live stream. So, again, like I said in a previous video, we're going to try and do this every single Saturday night from 7 to 8. Just to see how things go, see what it does to the algorithm, things like that. Help catch you up on all the things you might have missed or things that at least I didn't get a chance to cover. And we will also take this opportunity to give things away, like tonight. In case you didn't hear, we are giving away this Glock grip right here. It is for the Glock 17, Glock 17L, 19X, 34, and 45. Along with that, you're going to get a little sticker from GlockGrip.com. And then toward the end, we will do a grab bag out of the little plastic bag of goodies that I have. It's full of stickers and patches and things like that. And later on tonight, if not tomorrow, I will be plugging everybody in from last week's live stream for this Glock grip and this patch. This is for the Glock 19. And then, of course, I haven't heard squat from McNasty, who won this one. So, McNasty, if you're out there, you got to get a hold of me, man. You got to get a hold of me so I can send you your stuff. All right, so let's get into it. First and foremost, you can see here is the merch store. Because, well, I'm a merch whore. Now, with this one right here, which is pinned down in the description below, is going to be things not exactly on the other merch store. I know some people have ordered from that merch store, and this one right here, and they've been having problems. That's why I've been plugging this one. This is the one that's going to be pinned. I'm just going to make sure you guys can see it all. Yep, love technical difficulties. There we go. Refreshing that stream. Okay, here you are. This is the bonfire one. Now, this is down in the description below, and it's going to have different designs than you're used to. So you got Freedom Through Violence, Guns and Ammo, which is everybody's favorite. You got Historical Truth. It's mathematical formula. Just the Tip. And a whole bunch of other things. Disabled, but deadly. I do have that one. I like to wear it. Of course, Houthi hunting season. Along with a few different designs. So tons of things in there. How I feel about SLFU, which I'm sure many of you have seen me wear. I also want to give a special thanks to Tactical Snacks. As you can see behind me, over here on my shoulder, I have a bunch of boxes of Tactical Snacks. I do enjoy them quite a bit. They're right here. And down in the description will be a link so you can order your own. They do have, in limited supply, as of now, peach and green apple. All right. I do have a bundle pack coming to me. And when I get it, I will most definitely do a tasting for you, let you know how they are. Right now, the one that's usually available to everybody is going to be Watermelon Overwatch and the sour one. So the regular watermelon ones tend to be a bit, I'd say hard. But the sour gummies, which you see right over here, are super soft. They remind me of just normal gummies, which is great. They only have 3 grams of sugar per package and 8 grams of protein. Do I get anything out of it? No. But I'm telling you all about it because they are quite good. And I really do appreciate them sending me some free samples. And of course, I'd like to give a special thanks to GlockGrip.com because they're the ones allowing me to give away some of those grips that we're going to be talking about. All right, let's get into what everybody is here for. The Minnesota Shooter. Now, I'm not going to go over it. I'm sure all of us have seen the details. We've been watching the news. I know I've been glued to it to see what's been happening, all the updates. Um, it happened. We know that, yes, an AR was used. We know a shotgun was used. And, of course, a handgun. Tragically, an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old lost their lives, and it's absolutely horrible. I personally think we have a mental health crisis going on, but the liberals want to jump right on to guns. So, as you can see here, they're trying to find every scapegoat. A recent breakup before a deadly attack. They blamed the mother in the manifesto, which I'm not going to put up. The individual talks about how they regret their transition, this, that, and the other thing. And fast forward to today. Get out of here. Democrats are renewing calls for gun control after the school shooting. Of course they are. Jacob Fry clasped his hands together and they sat in the steps, so on and so forth. And you can see by the article, Minneapolis mayor said in a press conference and was seen on Wednesday, they should be able to go to school and church in peace without fear or risk of violence, and their parents should have the same kind of assurance. Yes, unfortunately, these schools are soft targets. Now, last year, the Catholic schools in Minneapolis had asked for more funding when it came to security, and the mayor outright shut it down. Now, the public school is fully funded, and they have resource officers and all kinds of good stuff. However, this one, the Catholic schools, were shut down. So Democratic leaders are now renewing calls to address gun violence in the wake of this, and they've argued a horrific scene. The shooter opened fire through stained glass window as students celebrated their first week of school with worship. Not only did he just stand outside and open fire, but he barricaded the doors with 2x4s from what I've read. And of course, they gave other sizes of wood, but 2x4 nonetheless. And opened fire through the window. Now, the police were delayed in responding because they were dealing with other crimes. And currently, the department, who just a couple of years ago had over 900 officers, is down to only 300 officers, and this is what you get when you defund the police. And that's exactly what Minneapolis did. They defunded their cops. In the strongest desire, there is no state, no community, no school ever experienced a day like this, said Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. Keep us on your thoughts and prayers, and also keep us the thoughts for action. Keep us in the idea that we can work together. Tim Walz is already coming out screaming for gun control. Ilhan Omar is one of the elected leaders. She wants more gun control. So, never let a good crisis go to waste, I guess. That's what they're calling for. Tons and tons of gun control. House Speaker Mike Johnson said the country was heartbroken over the tragic violence. And our prayers are with the children, the families, civilians, law enforcement, although all those impacted by this evil attack. Now, obviously, we all know right in the beginning when people offered up their prayers and everything, they were told to keep their prayers to themselves because, well, they didn't want to hear it. And we're at a point today where it's all about gun control. That's what they want. Gun control. So, let this load up. Tim Walz is weighing in, calling a special session on guns in the wake of the Annunciation mass shooting. Walz is exploring calling a special session on gun control this fall, according to senior administrative officials familiar with the matter. They're making calls to lawmakers on the subject. This comes days after the mass shooting at Annunciation Catholic Church in Minneapolis, in which the shooter tragically killed 2 children and injured 18 others during the morning mass. less than 24 hours before a separate shooter opened fire in South Minneapolis intersection, injuring 6 and killing 1. Yes, that one we're not hearing much about. And apparently there was a school shooter a day prior that nobody heard about. We heard about this one, though. It is not clear the direction Walz wants the special session to take, or which policies he wants the legislation to consider. Elected leaders, including Democrat, farmer, labor lawmakers, and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey on Thursday, called for a ban on assault weapons. That's what they want to do. They're going after the assault weapons. No mention of the shotguns. No mention of the handgun. Only the assault weapon, which they cannot define. They have no idea what an assault weapon is. I mean, hell, look at Connecticut's definition of an assault weapon. It's absolutely ridiculous. I know every time I teach a class, I let everybody know in class that today, when we go to the range, we will be using an assault weapon by every definition the state has. And then I show it to them. And it's a little 6-hour P322. And they're bewildered. They're like, but Todd, that is just a handgun. I said, no. It is an assault weapon by our definition. All because of a threaded barrel. And they're like, that literally makes no sense. Because the first thing that pops in their head, obviously, is like an AR style or an AK. And I'm like, nope, that's not what it is. This is what they're talking about. Just random things like that. So here's the big problem that I have when it comes to all these calls for gun control. The people that are calling for gun control have no idea what they're talking about. Even days, hours after this happened, all the news media had their so-called experts on, where they were going to break it down for us and explain it to the masses. Now, obviously, if you know anything about guns, because you've taken one of my classes or you just are in the know, you listen to them and you literally want to go, like, wash your eyes out with bleach. You want to shove Q-tips so deep into your ears you rupture your own eardrums. Because they don't know what they're talking about. For instance, we got to go over to X. Of course, I follow Libs of TikTok, and I think it's absolutely hilarious because Libs is very good at trolling the left. But right here, we have a clip for CNN's Evan Perez claiming that semi-automatic rifle can shoot dozens of bullets in just one trigger pull. You don't believe me? Here we go. I hope to God this plays right.
It seemed like a rifle, he said, a semi-automatic rifle, and it went on for several minutes.
Right, and look, that's not uncommon as well. These things can shoot dozens of bullets, in just one trigger pull, right? And so what happens in this case is sometimes they have enough time to reload. It's one of the most horrific things for students to be sitting.
All right, so you heard it right there. And this is the expert. That is the expert CNN brought in. And obviously they have no idea what they're talking about. They had another expert on the day after this talking about how the AR can shoot 30 clips and you can change the magazine. I have no idea what they're talking about. But they are an expert. Not me, not you, but them. Of course, you want some straight news, we can go over to Breitbart. Again, it's on X. And here's what they want. So the question was, Tim Walz wasn't sure what kind of gun control they should pass. Of course, we have it here, and there's calls for it at a federal level because of this tragedy. You've already got Chuck Schumer and a bunch of other idiots out there screaming for it. Now, if you are following me on, sounds such like a boomer thing, Facebook at Gun Guru Actual, I did share a link for Chuck Schumer calling for gun control. But here's what they think, guys, straight from their mouths.
Why does the majority of Congress believe that they cannot touch any gun laws?
Well,
you have one party, the Republican Party, who wholly absorbed the gun rights platform over the last 25 years because it was politically advantageous to mobilize the.
I'm gonna back it up. Let me escape out of this real quick. I want to make sure that it's playing. So I'm going to reset the screen capture. It's been a little glitchy today.
This very politically active group of voters.
Why does the majority of Congress believe that they cannot touch any gun laws?
Well, you have one party, the Republican Party, who wholly absorbed the gun rights 25 years because it was politically advantageous to mobilize this very politically active group of voters. And then you have the Democratic Party, which has been stuck in the year 1992 and hasn't really come up with like a useful policy idea since then. And also, more importantly, has allowed the gun rights group to dictate all these gun policy debates on their terms. So it's all defensive. No one ever goes on offense. No one ever tries to hold gun owners themselves accountable. There's this constant line that always gets trotted out. Oh, gun owners are the most law-abiding people in the world, which is itself like a semantic trick because in order to own a gun, technically, you can't be a felon and you can't have been involuntarily committed. But that's most Americans are not felons and not involuntarily committed, right? So what that background check system doesn't account for is a propensity for violence, anger management issues, substance abuse, all these little things that like would indicate that somebody might carry out a violent act are just not part of the equation. And Democrats just don't try to make it an issue when they talk to Republicans.
I know this.
All right. Obviously, this individual has no idea what they're talking about. On the 4473, we all know when you fill it out, it talks about substance abuse. It talks about your mental wellness. He is right, though, that if you are not a felon and you have not been committed involuntarily, then yes, as long as you're an upstanding citizen in the eyes of the law, you can buy guns. And that's what this individual did. All three firearms that were used, the AR, the shotgun, the handgun, there was two that I saw, a semi-automatic and a revolver, they were all bought legally. Passed the background checks, did his 4473s or her 47. I don't know. I've seen both. We'll just go with it. It passed everything. And if that's politically incorrect and offends you, I don't care. It passed all of its background checks. We don't have crystal balls. We have no idea. Somebody comes in, they buy a gun, they pass their background check, they do a 4473, they do their DPS 3, SLFU gives them a transfer number. We did everything we could, right? Off they go to do whatever. That's one of the reasons why Connecticut passed HB 7042 to hold the FFL civilly liable for this type of thing, which we don't know. We don't see the future. We don't know what individuals are going to do. One of the stats that I have seen is that the latest trend and the biggest uptick in gun owners is going to be LGBTQ and the trans. They are the ones that are getting the training and buying up the guns. Hey, that's their right. More power to them. I don't care what you do. You're an adult. You do you, boo. I do have a problem, though, if you're a nutball. Of course. We don't know. You know, we do our best. We try to talk to people and get a read on them. If the salesperson, this is every FFL, if the salesperson doesn't feel comfortable selling a gun to them, they can refuse. Nothing says I have to sell you the gun. I can just refuse to. That's our prerogative, right? If we have a weird hinky feeling, yeah, we can do that. And then we could call the cops and be like, yo, this so-and-so came in to buy a gun, man. Something ain't right. We can do that. Does it go anywhere? I have no idea. But, hey, you come in acting sketch, acting a little weird, you know, you're not going to buy a gun. But if you come in, you act normal, you do all your paperwork, you pass, you're getting a gun. It's your right. And I agree with that. So, I don't know what their big beef is. And, you know, they're talking about how, you know, we need to be held responsible, things like that. I mean, we passed 7042, and obviously all of you know, a day after that, Blumenthal wants to take it across the board at the federal level. He thinks it's a grand idea. Now, it's not going to go anywhere because currently they have no power. They're not in control of anything. But I guarantee come midterms, if the House and the Senate flip, don't be surprised if Blumenthal doesn't try to cram this through again to add that layer of liability. And like I always explain to people, it's not like the state said you can't own a gun. They're just making it super duper difficult to where FFLs aren't going to want to sell you a gun because the liability is too much. And if you don't have liability insurance, you can't do business here like that. And it's a backdoor policy. That's all it is. Sorry, getting texts coming in from a bunch of different people. Mainly that one was from my father. And if you're watching, happy birthday, Dad. Today is his birthday. All right, that's enough beating up about the gun control that's coming. It's not going to go anywhere for the foreseeable future, but never let a good crisis go to waste. So be prepared for a lot of saber rattling. And if we lose control, I guarantee you, they're going to try and pass this stuff. Now, it's not going to go anywhere because as long as Trump's in office, he'll just veto it. But hey, you know, that's what's coming around the pike. So I have a list of things that I want to go through and make sure I talk about. All right, let's talk about something I know all of you are quite interested in. I'm going to jump over to this. If I can get it to pop up. There we go. Hey, look at that. In case you didn't know, former state police sergeant arrested following investigation into viral YouTube confrontation. Now, listen, I already did a breakdown video on this. Not this, but on what happened originally. And it boiled down to this. Sean Paul, the Long Island auditor, what he did, was it unlawful? No. Is it annoying and obnoxious? Yeah. Now, I did say, hey, when he knocked on the door, he did back off, and Brian Fahey, who was the desk sergeant for SLFU, came to the door. He knows who Sean Paul is. They've had interactions before, back a couple of years ago, so on and so forth. He told Sean Paul to get off his property, as you should. Now, Sean Paul started to retreat. Brian Fahey went into his house and he shut the door. That's great. That's what you're supposed to do. But then Brian Fahey opened his door and he came out with what we would assume would be a loaded handgun at the low ready in his right hand. And he approached Long Island Audit, or Sean Paul, to engage with him, to escalate the situation. Now, he was on the phone. You can see by the picture there. He was on the phone with Groton PD. And he said, I am a state trooper, which was true. And he explained what he was doing or what was going on from, obviously, his point of view. Now, when Groton showed up, all they heard was basically that a state trooper was in need of backup. So that's why Groton came in as hostile as they were toward this journalist, YouTuber, Sean Paul, the Long Island Audit. And I broke down in my video that you can't do that because in the state of Connecticut, you can't protect your property or real property. You cannot chase a trespasser off your lawn or off your property with a firearm. That's a major no-no. You can't do that. Now, he obviously was hiding behind his badge because he was screaming, I am a Connecticut state trooper, etc., etc. So what happened was, when the police showed up, they arrested Sean Paul. And that was the end of it, right? Brian Fahey then was put on paid leave, and they started an investigation, and shortly thereafter, Brian Fahey retired. Full benefits, so on and so forth. Fine. Fast forward to yesterday. Groton, a former state sergeant, has been arrested following the confrontation in front of his home. On July 11th, a YouTuber and his cameraman parked a digital billboard outside former state police sergeant Brian Fahey's home in Groton. So I've heard two different things. One, that Brian Fahey actually lives in Mystic, and Groton PD obviously takes care of Mystic. And then I've heard that he lives in Groton. So I really don't know. I've had people tell me both. The billboard displayed was a previous interaction on the YouTuber Sean Paul Reyes had with Fahey in 2021 at the state police headquarters in Middletown. Reyes had gone to the home to confront Fahey over the alleged abuse of overtime. Yes, I covered that. That Fahey was racking up tons and tons of OT. And that is what kind of got Sean Paul to his door. He racked up almost as much OT as his base pay. Granted, we all know that civil servants like police, firefighters, and government employees, in their last few years of employment, tend to really crank up their OT, especially if their retirement is based off of their annual salary or their annual take-home pay for the past couple of years. So what they do is they try to get those monies up as high as they can, so when they retire, if they're getting 50 or 75% of whatever money they were making over the past, say, 3 to 5 years, that number is generously larger than it normally would be. Now, Mr. Fahey, or Sergeant Fahey, was raking in that overtime. Now, he lives about an hour away from Middletown, so the only thing we could surmise was when he left his home and he drove into Middletown, the whole time he's on the road, he was getting paid. He'd show up to work as SLFU desk sergeant, and controlling all our permits, work his 9 to 5, and then he drives an hour home. I would surmise that he was getting OT for driving because, well, I guess you can do that. I mean, technically, if he's in a cruiser driving home, he's technically, I would say, not off duty, because if something were to happen or something egregious would happen, a speeder, an accident, things like that, yes, I think he would respond. That being said, I don't know. I think he was just padding it. In the video, Fahey is seen grabbing a gun and spitting on Reyes. Yes, he did spit on him. Which, according to Groton PD, is not a crime, guys. Now, if you spit on an officer, that's an exchange of body fluids. That is assault. But, hey, if you walk up to some rando on the street and spit in their face and their mouth, according to Groton PD, you're good to go. That is not assault. Hey, they set the precedent. The incident was investigated by the Office of the State's Attorney Judicial District of Windham. As a result of their investigation, 53-year-old Brian Fahey was arrested and charged with disorderly conduct. I ask you guys this. If somebody came to your front door, whether it be Girl Scouts or those damned solar panel people, and you proceeded to chase them off your lawn with a gun in your hand, spitting on them, do you think you would be charged with disorderly conduct? Or would you be charged with a crap ton of felonies? Let me know down in the chat. I'll take a look at that here in a little bit. He was released on a court-set promise to appear for arraignment in Danielson Superior Court on September 3rd. That's Wednesday. You know damn well if that were you or me, we would be sitting in jail still, because our bail would be so high, we wouldn't be able to afford it. Fahey was placed on unpaid. So I correct myself. He was unpaid, not paid. Unpaid administrative leave while the investigation unfolded. He later retired from the police force. Police said a mugshot was not provided because it's only a misdemeanor crime. I'm pretty sure they took his mugshot. Pretty sure. And that's pretty much the whole article. You can see it just starts going into advertisements. Here's the funny thing. When I was doing show prep, I was trying to get this article up. I went to WFSB.com. Couldn't find it anywhere. It was like buried. So I knew I had found it on their Facebook page. So I went back to Facebook, poured through WFSB's different timelines, and I did finally find it. Here it is. But I think they just quietly made it go away. I don't know. What do I know? So let me know what you guys think. You think they're going to do anything to retired police sergeant Brian Fahey? Will they drop the charges against Long Island Audit? Or is this a bunch of smoke and mirrors and they're going to keep the charges against Sean Paul and basically sweep the charges for Brian Fahey under the carpet? You know, part of that good old boy club. Let me know what you think. Next thing I want to cover, guys, is a little bit of housekeeping news, in case you guys didn't know, because none of us knew this, and it's brand new. But I did a video on the passage of Public Act 25-157, or House Bill 6859. Now, we didn't even know this was a thing, but what happened was we were talking with Bree over at SLFU, and she goes, "Oh, by the way, come October 1st, DPS 67s go away." And we were like, "Wait, what?" We heard about it. Myself, Josh over at Lock and Load, and a few others. And we never heard anything else. We feared it died. We knew that Bree and a few others actually from SLFU testified against having a DPS 67. They said it was redundant. The questions were already asked with the 4473. So why the hell did the state of Connecticut have a DPS 67? Well, it's easy. The DPS 67 was originally designed for a person-to-person transfer. So if I was selling my gun to one of you good viewers, this is just a few years ago, would have you fill out a DPS 67. It's a 4473 light. And I would call SLFU, I'd get the transfer number, we do DPS 3s, and I could transfer the gun to you. As long as you had a permit, I have a permit, good to go. ATF stopped that a couple years back, just because when we did this, SLFU used the NICS system. And when they used the NICS system, we're not supposed to have access to it. That was a thing that was only designed for FFLs. So Connecticut put the kibosh on it. So when we went searching to figure out where this DPS 67 thing went to, we couldn't find it. We knew that it was Bill 6859. And if you haven't seen the previous video, I found it. It doesn't specifically say DPS 67. However, on page 14 of this bill, it describes what must be done. And it goes through and it describes the DPS 3. 4473s are obviously a federal thing. The state can't control that. The DPS 3 is Connecticut's universal background check system. It's gun registry, guys. And this goes on, it's changed. Selling, delivering, transferring such pistol, revolver, complete the transfer document, blah, blah. It describes the DPS 3. There's another section down here that talks about long guns and shotguns. All of it got updated. But it did away with the DPS 67. So that's good news. No more DPS 67 as of October 1st. The other thing I want to talk to you about is the 3-gun a month limitation. You know, you get 3 guns a month. That's it. Three handguns a month. I get 6 because I'm an instructor. If you were an instructor, you'd be able to upload your credentials to the state, and you too could get 6 guns a month. Problem was probate. What do you do when you have a relative who passes away and they leave you a plethora of guns? There was no carve out. There was no instructions on how to do this. So everybody, including SLFU, assumed that you could only do 3 guns a month. So if somebody passed away in your family and they left you all their firearms and they had like 300 guns, it's going to take a while at 3 guns a month. Well, as of October 1st, you're going to be able to do, if it's in probate, you're going to be able to transfer all of them in one shot. So there you go. That's a good thing. Where did this come out of? I have no idea where it got tucked into. But the nice thing is, you'll be able to transfer them all in one shot. Obviously, it's sad because somebody had to pass away for it, but this 3 gun a month thing's pretty much going away, which is good news for us. The other thing I found out, and I was surprised by this, but a couple years back, we had the ATF going after the pistol braces. Now, most states it really didn't affect them, as they had these guns with the pistol brace, and they had their little workarounds by doing their Form 1s and all that. The problem was Connecticut, because it was an other, and at the time, SBRs, ARs, and things like that were banned. The Connecticut other was legal, but the ATF was converting, via definition, our others into SBRs. And that's when they wanted everybody to go in and register their braced firearms as an SBR. Now, I know some of you complied, some of you did not, and others just had no idea. That's okay, I get it. I complied. I did the paperwork. I even did a video on it. I got approvals back, my Form 1s. And then, of course, the ATF got their rear end spanked in the courts. And, of course, by the administration. This administration. And the whole brace ruling, the whole brace definition thing fell apart, and it subsequently went away. Not a problem anymore. Nobody cares. Your braced firearm, your other is an other. Braced firearms are what they are, whether it's an AR pistol or whatever. So what happens if you did your Form 1s on your Connecticut others? Are they or are they not SBRs? That was a huge question. Nobody really knew. We finally got the answer from the ATF. If during this period you formed one, your Connecticut others, they are still SBRs. So treat them as so. That means you don't need the vertical grip. You can put a buttstock on it. You cannot change the barrel length because it's locked in stone with the ATF. If you want to change the barrel length, you're going to have to reach out to the ATF, blah, 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 and you got to do more paperwork. But if you SBR'd your other and it's still in its original configuration, know this: if you have your little tax stamp, it's still good. Just so you know. The ATF's honoring it. They said it's an SBR. With that, understand that in the eyes of the ATF, that's an SBR. You can't just take that gun and leave the state of Connecticut. You need to do paperwork. You need to basically let them know what you're doing, where you're going, and you're basically asking permission to take that gun. Because in the eyes of the ATF, that's now an SBR. Now, can you forfeit it and tell the ATF, hey, I don't want this to be an SBR anymore. It is going to stay an other? in its configuration. I mean, I guess you could try. I don't think it's going to work, but I don't know. You guys let me know what you think. Did you register your guns with the ATF when you had that opportunity? Remember they suspended the $200 tax stamp, and then turns out they can't do that because they can't make law or rules. They can only enforce. So that was the big problem. Were those Form 1s still good? Turns out they are. I guess we all got grandfathered in. They said they're going to honor them. I don't know. What do you guys think? So we covered pretty much everything that's happened this week that I wanted to cover. Things that I didn't really get a chance to put into videos. Things I found out that I thought you guys should know. Mainly like the Form 1 thing, the SBRs. I really wanted you guys to understand that because God forbid you left the state with it or did something with it that could get you hemmed up given the wrong person sees it. The way the things are going, I'm still waiting on an update for the single mom out of Plymouth, that Heather lady. Her court case is coming up soon. Hopefully I can get an update and I'll update you guys. I know some people have been asking about it in the chats. I have no idea. I haven't heard squat, so I got to reach out, learn something. The problem is when I get information, I make a video on it. Apparently the state of Connecticut likes to watch the videos and try to use what I say against her. I don't know. Again, I admit that she was supposed to register it under HB Satan 7, and she failed to do so because she didn't know. It's no excuse. I think it's horrible treatment, what they did to her and what they're doing to her. But I admit, yes, the law says this. She failed to do that. It is what it is. You know, I just think it's pretty crappy that the state of Connecticut argued that this would not be enforced, so we didn't get an injunction on it, and then they went ahead and enforced it anyways. I think it's pretty crappy. Absolutely horrible. All right, guys. I'm going to read your chats here. But first, don't forget, from GlockGrip.com, we are giving away this Glock grip for the 17, 17L, 19X, 34, and 45. A little sticker. And we're about to grab a patch out of a little bag. Let's see. I'll do it blindly. First patch I grabbed was poop. All right. Here's the patch. Got Draco. That's it right there. So, in the comment section, put something. Let me know you're there. Let me know you're live. Let me know you watch this. And I will pick someone's name. We'll do a drawing. You'll get a Glock grip from GlockGrip.com for Glock 17 19Xs. A Got Draco patch. And a cool little Glock grip sticker. Hit them up, guys. Let me know what you need. Let me know what you think. I'll be picking this one tomorrow. This is for the Glock 19 with another patch. And like I said in the beginning of the video, where's McNasty? You won the checkered one. We have one more to give away. If you're not sure which one that is, it's special. I saved it just for you guys. And we'll probably do it on the next live. It is for the Glock 17 19X, just like the one we're doing today, but this one is hot pink. I know some of you guys out there really want this, especially if you were in the Navy. You really want that pink grip. Now, I was rummaging around, and I thought, you know what? If I hit 5,000 subscribers, we should do something special. And I thought what better thing to do than to give away something that you guys might actually really like. So, let me pull it up, and I'm going to show you. All right, so I have it queued up. I know I was reading articles and playing shit on Twitter. Apparently, OBS never clicked over for me. I don't know what's going on. I think I got it figured out. The whole thing was locked out, but I think I got it. Here we go. Let's try it. All right. There's that. And let me see if I can get this to refresh on my end. Boom. There it is, guys. There it is. Right there. Now, if you don't know what that is, that... No, I just got a picture off the internet, so ApexGunParts.com has nothing to do with it. This is something that I've just had laying around. This is a 20 Mike cannon barrel. She's big, she's heavy, and she's brand new. And if you don't know what it goes to, I will show you. It is a barrel for this. It is an M61A1 Vulcan Phalanx cannon. Granted, it takes 6 barrels. I have 1. They're big and heavy. These are nasty, nasty guns. Goes in F-14s, F-18s, F-16s, F-15s, blah, blah, blah. I don't say Warthog. It's a different gun. That's a 30 millimeter. This, though, is a 20 Mike, 20 millimeters. So, there you go. That is what I'll be giving out. That is weird. The OBS froze on me again. Give me the business. Here we go. Right here. M61 Vulcan. I'll show it to you guys one more time. It's a Gatling gun. It's a monstrosity. Look at this thing. It's a beast. Right there. So it's one of those barrels. It's good for you. It's a nice wall display item. 5,000 subs. And then I'll just randomly pick somebody. Because I can see the subs. I'll just pick someone. Or we'll do something special. I don't know. And just to show you, I mean, obviously you can see back here I've got my little ejection seat handles. But it's right here. There you go. There's the knurled areas. It's kind of dusty. She's big, she's heavy. No, I am not mailing that to you. So, hopefully, whoever gets it's local. We can meet up somewhere and I'll give it to you. Let me know what you guys think. All right, let's go through some of your chats. Bill Poole, how's it going? It's going well, sir. It's going well. Devlin says, hi, Guru. Howdy. Mad Rass. I bet all of them as a shotgun, which was dangerous, and an AR. Yep. Malcolm Palm. I'm sick of... Now. I understand how you typed it, but that's not a nice word to say online. Amazing that Murphy has not piped up on all of this. Though Murphy has been running his mouth about a few things, but nobody's paying much attention to him. Dave, what are the charges? Whose charges? Fahey's disorderly conduct. Cop Tua should lose his gun rights. We would have. Cop Tua, if convicted, could lose his entire retirement. But I agree. They should not give him his Leosa, which is what cops get when they retire. They can get a... they have to qual every year, but it's basically a special type of permit that allows them to carry in all 50 states anything they want. Because they're retired cops. Wish we had something like that. Madras, he got arrested and they should take away his gun license too. Yep, they should, but they won't. Dave Jacklipo, that's it. Bill Pool in Connecticut, we might have gotten the death penalty. Yeah, probably. All right, Madras says, hey, I heard they're planning on upping the mag capacity. Is that true or false? Currently, it's false. Now, during the legislative session, they had a bill to take the capacity up to 15. It didn't go anywhere. It died in committee. 15 was the best we could get. We all argued that we should just have a bill in Connecticut that says, you know what? You can only have standard capacity. That's it. Standard. Okay, well, what's standard? It's whatever the gun's built to hold. So a Glock 17 holds 17 plus 1. Your magazine is designed to hold 17 from the factory. You should have 17. The standard capacity for ARs or Fight Light SCRs, ranch guns, or our fixed mag abominations we have today, or even the Connecticut Other, is a 30-round mag. That is the standard capacity. And that's what we should have. But alas, it went nowhere. So, sorry. You don't like the fact that he doesn't engage with his viewers. Who's that? Who doesn't engage? I engage. I try to engage. Malcolm Palm. And we don't owe them $200. No. If you're talking about when we went through and we registered our Connecticut Others as SBRs, it was a tax amnesty. A lot of people jumped on board. A few people scoffed at it and said, no, not going to happen. We're not doing it. Yeah, there's nothing. You don't owe them any money. You should already have your paperwork in hand. It's good to go. You got to keep that paperwork with the gun. So if you take it to the range and you SBR'd it, technically, again, in the eyes of the ATF, it is an SBR, you must have a copy of your Form 1. So for me, I have multiple copies. Not only do I have digital copies on my phone, I also have printed copies inside the rifle cases, and inside I have them tucked away, miniaturized versions, tucked away inside the gun, one of the compartments. The type of buttstock I have, it's got that compartment for batteries. I just have a piece of paper rolled up tight, slid in there. It is the Form 1s because they are both SBRs. So to cover my ass, I have them there. I also have multiple copies across laptops, iPads, things like that. Just tons of copies. If I ever need another one to print out, I can just print them. Vladimir, so what happened with the change on magazine capacity in Connecticut? It died, went nowhere. The Democrats lost their damn minds over it. And it just literally went nowhere. It was something we threw in. It was pie in the sky. We thought it'd be great, but it died. That patch is great. Yes, the Got Draco. I thought it was funny when I saw it, so I grabbed it and I ran out with it. I told you I'd take the Sailor Moon one. Yes, that's how I got the idea of a pink gun. Okay, so for those that don't know, at the end of class, one of the slides is how to pick a handgun. And I always tell my class the slide is just crap. They're full of shit. Everyone that works in a gun store has their own opinion, and they're usually full of shit. Even gun tubers, like me, we do a gun review. Guess what? We're full of shit. It comes down to two things. One, you must be honest and understand what is the most important thing to you when picking a gun. And then what I have deemed the Harry Potter theory, where obviously the wand picks the wizard. I believe that the gun does pick you. All right, so the first part, what is most important? And I always ask the class, because I love when the class interacts. I always ask, hey, what do you think is the most important? And they're like, oh, grip or texture or caliber or this or that. They always come up with, things that are important, but things that aren't your driving factor. And a lot of people, when they can't figure it out, sometimes someone who's really shallow figures it out and they come out real quick. When nobody can figure it out, like today's class couldn't figure it out, I always give them this. Okay, we're going to design a gun. I've designed this gun. It is perfect in every form. It's got everything you could ever imagine. Perfect grip, perfect caliber, perfect weight, balance, super soft recoil. The sights are amazing on it. The caveat: it is painted hot pink, wrapped with Sailor Moon, and every time you pull the trigger, it lets off a soft moan. And everybody usually chuckles and they laughs. And I'm like, would you carry that? And they're like, oh God, no. I was like, why not? It's the perfect gun. And they don't want to say it, but eventually it clicks and like, it looks stupid. Today someone goes, oh, it looks like something on a Call of Duty. I said, yes. But you're right, it looks stupid. So what's important? How your gun handles and fires and the caliber, or how it looks? Because I just created the perfect gun for you, but based on how it looked, you turned it down. And then they're like, oh, it's got to look good. Yes, you have to be attracted to that gun. Or at least pick a gun that you know you can get the way you want it. Mrs. Guru, her EDC, Tiffany Blue. That's what she wanted. She could get one in black nitride like everybody else, but nope. She saw the one that was in Tiffany Blue, and that was the one for her. It was pretty, and she loves that gun, and that's her everyday carry. Hey, more power to you. Once you figure out what gun you like, how it looks, then that's when you start figuring out, hey, how does it feel, this, that, and the other thing. Once you find a couple of guns that you kind of, you can get them the way you want them to look, they feel good, you like the weight, the balance, the sights, and all that, that's when you get your little list, and you have to go to the range, rent those guns, and just start pumping ammo through them. And then eventually you're going to find the one that you like. Because what's going to happen is you're going to take your little list of guns, you're going to rent these guns, and in the beginning you're going to shoot them. You're like, oh man, this is great. This is awesome. By the end, you're like, man, this gun sucks. I hate it. Fair enough. Some guns you're going to start shooting, and you're going to be like, hey, I really don't like this one. It's kind of snappy, or clunky, or too heavy, or whatever it is. But by the end, you've gone through that learning curve. And I always tell people it's a minimum of a box. At the end, you're like, I tolerate it. It's okay. It's fine. Maybe it's not the one for you, but at least you tolerate it. So eventually, though, you're going to find that one gun. Not only is it everything you want in a gun, but you can get it the way you want it to look. You just found your gun. And when you walk into a gun store, knowing what you want, if that gun store tries to talk you out of it, or they scoff at you like, that's not what you want. What you want is this. They're doing you a huge disservice. You buy what you want. Because if you buy a gun strictly on somebody else's opinion, and you don't like it, obviously you wasted your money. But you're never going to carry it, and you're never going to train with it. And that's the most important thing I want, is you to carry and to train. Because whatever you choose for an everyday carry, you need to make it part of you. It's an extension of you. And you practice with that one the most. And that's just my 2 cents on how you should be picking out like your first gun or your everyday carry, I firmly believe that, hey, love at first glance. It's like, oh, that one's pretty. I like that one. Great, it's great. At least you know you can get it that way, and then figure everything else out. Let's see what we got here. Vladimir goes, yeah, I believe so. Just haven't heard anything on lately on the magazines. Yeah, it died. Like I said, it died. Oh, damn. Sorry. YouTube jumped. I hate when they do that. Bill Poole writes that 10 round BS is ridiculous. Yes, it is. It is. Jack says CCDL Picnic 9/7/2025. Hey, maybe some of you are going to go. I'm not going. I won't be here. I will be teaching a class that day. I mean, I'll be here, but I'll be teaching a class. I won't be able to go to that. Yeah, 20 Mike, Bert, yes. Vulcan 80A, Bert, yes. The gun is awesome. It is. It's just a real pain in the rear end to fix, especially in the late 90s. I was in a Tomcat squadron, and that gun came out in pieces. It wasn't like the F-18 where it just dropped out as one giant massive unit where you cranked it out. This came out in a bunch of little pieces, and the chutes and the elements were the worst. Hated it. Many a night pulling guns apart, beating on them, trying to get them to work. Yeah, standard capacity for that make and model would be better than nothing. Bill Poole, I agree. And that's why I think we should just stick to standard capacity. Vladimir says he's been waiting on a mag change. I guess the law. Guess what? Don't hold your breath. Malcolm Palm. Connecticut SBRs. When we receive our AW cert, then we are good to go, I assume. The way it works is, if you SBR'd it before we had to do the AW cert stuff, you're still good to go. I got my Form 1s back. Took a little while, but I got them back. You're good to go. If you did everything online, you have your temporary number, you're good. It's fine. Your temporary number will work. I know some of you out there have told me you never got an email with temporary numbers. I don't know what to tell you. I know I got mine. You're probably going to have to look for it, because as soon as you did everything in the portal, it was automatically generated based on what you just input, and you got your temporary assault weapon certificate number. Obviously, they still have to go through and double check everything, things like that. But the ATF at the time, with the original brace ruling, were approving SBR Form 1s for the other, us knowing we would get our assault weapon certificates at some point. So it was a deal that the state of Connecticut and the ATF made in lieu of their definition changes, things like that. When everything kind of fell apart on the ATF side, the big question was, well, will the SBR certs, the Form 1s, be honored? And they said yes, because remember, guys, you put all that information into the ATF. So it's in their system as an NFA item. Thus, you have an NFA item. Doesn't matter how it got there. You put it in there. The ATF approved it. And that's pretty much where it's stuck. Again, there is a process to un-NFA that item. However, it is kind of a pain in the rear end. Bill Poole asks, what rifles are we allowed to have in Connecticut that are semi-auto? Well, that's a good question. Well, for semi-automatic rifles, as long as it's rimfire, you're good to go. Or if you want something that's center fire, you are looking at a fixed mag AR, a fixed mag AR pistol, or if you want something with a removable magazine, you're going to be looking at the Fight Light SCR. Granted, it's in Connecticut, so it's at a premium, and that's about the only gun you're able to get, so you are going to pay for it. If you go to other states, if they happen to sell it, it's probably going to be a little bit cheaper because supply and demand. You know, I mean, they got to price it to where someone is going to buy it, because why buy a ranch gun when you can just buy a regular AR? And that's the problem with our guns. If you bought an AR here in Connecticut, it was at a premium. If you try to sell it out of the state, you can. You are going to get nowhere near what you paid for it. Because why is somebody, like, I have one that was close to, what, $1,800. Same gun in Georgia, Tennessee, South Carolina, Wyoming, Montana, probably half the price. I'll never get my money's worth back. So I'm not selling them. I'm keeping them. I heard that there was a Ruger or something that was still in compliance with a detachable magazine. Bill Pool, that would be a Ruger PC carbine. It is pistol caliber. Let's see. Bill Pool also writes, I know CMMG is available, but it's a little more than I wanted to spend. Well, the Fight Light is going to cost you about the same. How does the Connecticut, okay, this is coming from D70 Racing. How does the Connecticut permit renewal process work these days? I have to renew by June. I hope that's June of 2026, my man. Otherwise, you have missed the boat. Unless, if it was last June, June of 2025, you're losing time. July, August, you only have 90 days from the day it expired. That's your grace period. If we're talking about June of next year, you've got time to prepare. So the way it works is 90 days prior, the state is supposed to send you a letter in the mail. And it's going to be all your personal information. And it basically says, hey, man, your stuff's about to expire. Now, you can renew off that letter. That letter has to be notarized by a notary. So you double check all your info, go sign it in front of the notary, you send in the money and a 2x2 photo. Just go to Walgreens, CVS, and get a passport photo. And that's what you include. You can do that. Or you can utilize the portal that was created back during the passage of HB Satan 7. It's the portal where everybody went in and registered their assault weapons with the state of Connecticut. 90 days prior to your permit expiring, you will have an icon that appears, and it's basically renew online. So you can do that. It's quicker. If you fail to do any of those in the first 90 days, your permit expires. It's not the end of the world. Not the end of the world. You still get another 90 days. It's your grace period. The way it works, though, is you can still carry your firearm, but you will no longer be able to purchase firearms, ammunition, and some accessories. And you only have 90 days. The portal at this point shuts off. You cannot do it online anymore, and you are relegated to renewing off the letter SLFU sent you. Now, when I said they're supposed to send you one, supposed is the key word because it's not a guarantee you're going to get one. And that's one of the reasons why you need to keep your address up to date with SLFU. Remember, it is state law. Once you move, by law, you have 48 hours to tell them you moved. Otherwise, you are committing a felony. It's over your renewal letter. That's what they tell you. I don't think it's over the renewal letter because I don't think the state really cares if you renew your pistol permit or not. I know it's about tracking where the guns went. That's what they want to know. So, D70 Racing, I hope that answered your question. You got time? You've got time. Just wait for that letter. And if you're unsure of what portal I have spoke of, you're going to have to go back in the videos and find the one where I registered my assault weapons with the state of Connecticut. I provide links for creating a login to that portal. You'll go there, create your login, and you'll be able to do everything right then and there. All right, you're in the system. You just have to create your password, your name and your password and all that stuff. It's all based off your permit. All right, I have run 12 minutes over. And I'm going to let you guys go for the night because I'm sure we all have better things to do than listen to some dude ramble on and on who is having a glitchy OBS system tonight, which I apologize for. The half the displays did not show up. I have them on one screen, but they weren't showing up to you. It was weird. I will try and have it all squared away for next Saturday night. All right. That's it. I'm happy you guys came by for the Saturday Night Live. And remember, we got the Glock grip thing going on with the Draco patch. So get your chats in there, and we'll pull somebody out. I'll let you know. Make sure you pay attention. McNasty doesn't pay attention, hence why I still have their Glock grip, and I've never sent it to them. Because even though I created a video on it, I responded to their message, and I put a pinned chat in there with their name in it. Never heard back from them. So pay attention, guys. It's important. All right? All right, that's all I got for you guys. I will see all of you in the next video. We got some good stuff coming up this week, and I will chat with you all later. You guys enjoy the rest of your Saturday evening and enjoy your Sunday. All right, later, guys.